Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful today. Your life is a reflection of your thoughts. Whatever dominates your mind will eventually shape your reality. If you keep thinking small, you will live small. If you keep replaying negative memories, you will stay stuck in the same place. But if you can learn to control your thoughts, you can change your life in ways you never imagined. The power of thoughts is one of the greatest forces we have in life, yet most people don't even realize it. Every single thing you see around you, every invention, every building, every business, every work of art, all of it started first as a thought in somebody's mind. That chair you're sitting on was a thought before it was a product. That phone you use every day was just an idea before it became a reality. And if thoughts are strong enough to create the world we live in, then imagine what they can do to your personal life. The truth is, what you consistently think about will eventually show up in your life, whether good or bad. If you constantly think about failure, struggle, and disappointment, your actions will naturally line up with that. But if you think about winning, if you think about solutions, if you think about possibilities, your life begins to move in that direction. Thoughts are like magnets. They attract what you hold in your mind. If your mind is filled with negative images, your life will keep reflecting those images back to you. But if you fill your mind with powerful, positive images of success, growth, and strength, then sooner or later, your reality will begin to match those pictures. The problem is that so many people underestimate this truth. They think their thoughts are private, harmless, and without impact. But the reality is, your mind is the control center of your life. What you think becomes what you speak. What you speak becomes what you act on, and what you act on becomes the habits that shape your destiny. If you sit around thinking you're not good enough, that you don't have the talent, that you don't have the resources, your actions will reflect that belief and you'll never even try. But if you convince yourself that you are capable, that you are worthy, that you do have what it takes, you will move differently, you will walk with more confidence, you will pursue opportunities with more energy, and you will start to unlock doors you never thought possible. The power of thoughts can either build your life or destroy it. It works both ways. The same mind that can carry you to greatness can also keep you stuck in mediocrity if you allow negative thoughts to dominate. Think about it. Every fear you have, every excuse you've ever made, every moment you held back from chasing your dream, it all started in your mind. Nobody stopped you. Your own thoughts did. Your thoughts can convince you to give up before you've even started. That's how powerful they are. But here's the good news. If your thoughts have the power to hold you back, they also have the power to push you forward. You get to choose which way you use them. You can let your mind tell you that you're stuck, or you can train your mind to tell you that you're unstoppable. You got to understand that life responds to what you think about the most. If you spend your days thinking about problems, you keep seeing more problems. But if you spend your days thinking about possibilities, your brain will start finding solutions. Your energy will attract better opportunities, and your whole perspective will change. This is why people say, change your thoughts, change your life. It's not just a nice quote. It's the reality of how the world works. What you feed your mind is what grows. If you plant seeds of fear, you'll harvest doubt. If you plant seeds of faith, you'll harvest victory. So the power of thoughts is no small matter. It is the starting point of everything you will ever do, be, or have. The question is, what are you choosing to think about on a daily basis? Because whether you realize it or not, your thoughts are shaping your future every single moment of your life. Guarding your mind is one of the most important disciplines you will ever learn in life, because your mind is the doorway to everything you will ever become. Think of your mind like a house filled with treasures. And those treasures are your dreams, your confidence, your faith, your potential. If you leave the doors and windows wide open, anybody can walk in and take whatever they want. Negative influences, toxic people, doubts, fears, insecurities, they're like thieves just waiting to rob you. And the truth is, most people lose their dreams not because they didn't have the ability, but because they didn't guard their mind. They let too much junk in. They entertain too many negative voices. They allow too much doubt to creep into their thinking. If you don't guard your mind, you give permission to outside forces to shape your life. The reality is the world around us is constantly feeding our minds. Every conversation you have, every movie you watch, every song you listen to, every post you scroll through, it all plants seeds in your thoughts. Some of those seeds are good, but many of them are poison. When you constantly expose yourself to negativity, gossip, fear, or defeat, your mind becomes polluted. And a polluted mind cannot produce a victorious life. You cannot expect to fill your head with negative messages all day long and then wake up expecting positive results. It just doesn't work like that. That's why you have to be intentional about what you allow into your mind. You've got to treat your mind like a garden. If you plant flowers but you don't pull out the weeds, eventually the weeds take over. Guarding your mind means checking every thought that tries to enter. Asking yourself, does this thought serve my growth or my destruction? If it's serving your destruction, you got to reject it. If it's serving your growth, then you let it stay. When somebody tells you you can't do it, that's a weed. Pull it out. When fear tells you you're not good enough, that's a weed. Remove it. When your environment tries to convince you that success is only for other people, that's a weed. Can't let it take root. But when you tell yourself, I'm capable, that's a flower, let it grow. When you hear encouragement, faith, belief, and vision, those are flowers that deserve water. Guarding your mind is about protecting the right seeds and destroying the wrong ones. Sometimes it's not even strangers or the outside world, it's the people closest to you. Friends, family, co-workers, even loved ones can sometimes speak negativity into your life. Not always out of malice, but because they're projecting their own fears onto you. If you're not careful, you'll take their limitations and wear them as your own. Guarding your mind means knowing how to separate your truth from their fear. Just because they couldn't do it doesn't mean you can't. Just because they see failure doesn't mean you won't see success. You can love people and still not allow their words to dictate your thoughts. That's guarding your mind. Guarding your mind also means paying attention to what you say to yourself. Sometimes the most damaging voice is not from outside, but from within. You've got to catch yourself when you start thinking, I'll never make it. I'm not worthy. I'm too late. Those thoughts might come, but you don't have to give them power. Don't let them rent space in your head. Kick them out before they settle in. Replace them with words that affirm your potential, with declarations that speak life over your future. Because if you don't guard your mind, your inner critic will sabotage you before you even begin. Every day is a battle for your mind. Life will always send distractions, problems, and negativity your way. But when you decide to guard your thoughts, to stand at the door of your mind and only let in what builds you, you take back control of your future. A strong, guarded mind is the foundation of every successful life. And without it, even the greatest opportunities will slip away. Life is full of problems, challenges, and difficulties. That's just the truth, and nobody can escape it. But the difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck is not that one group has fewer problems. It's that they look at those problems differently. Most people focus so hard on the problem that they never give themselves the chance to see the possibility hiding inside it. When you lock your eyes only on what's wrong, you become blind to what could be right. Every obstacle carries within it the seed of opportunity, but you never find it if all you do is complain, stress, or dwell on the negative. Shifting from problems to possibilities is about making a choice to see beyond the struggle and look for the solution, the lesson, and the potential that lies within. The truth is, problems are part of growth. If you want to climb higher in life, you have to be willing to face harder challenges. But here's the trick. Your mind decides whether those challenges break you or build you. When something goes wrong, you can either say, why me? Or you can say, what can I learn? How can I use this? That one shift in thinking changes everything, because the problem doesn't disappear, but your perspective transforms it into something you can work with. It's like looking at a locked door. One person sees a wall they can't get past. Another person sees an opportunity to find the key or even build a new door. Same situation, two different mindsets, two completely different outcomes. So many people stay stuck because they replay their problem like a broken record. They talk about what went wrong, how unfair life is, how impossible the situation feels, and they keep their minds chained to the negative. But here's the thing. You can't complain your way into a better life. You can't worry your way into success. The more you focus on the problem, the bigger it grows in your mind. But when you start looking for possibilities, you give yourself power. You begin to attract answers, resources, and ideas that were invisible when all you did was focus on the issue. Think about some of the most successful people in history. Every single one of them faced setbacks, failures, and problems that could have destroyed them. But what set them apart was that they saw possibilities where others only saw dead ends. When an invention didn't work, they didn't see failure. They saw a chance to improve. When a business collapsed, they didn't see the end. They saw a lesson that could help them build something strong. That's the mindset you have to adopt in your own life. Don't let problems define you. Let them refine you. Don't let obstacles stop you. Let them sharpen you. Sometimes the possibility is not in fixing the situation, but in changing yourself through it. Maybe the problem is teaching you patience. Maybe it's building your resilience. Maybe it's preparing you for something bigger that you can't see yet. But if you only complain, you miss the lesson. If you only cry over the problem, you miss the growth. That's why the greatest gift you can give yourself is the ability to shift your focus. Ask yourself, what else is possible here? What other way can I look at this? What can I gain instead of what I'm losing? At the end of the day, problems are unavoidable, but possibilities are unlimited. The power is in your perspective. You can see a storm and focus on the rain, or you can see the same storm and look for the rainbow. One will leave you hopeless, the other will fill you with expectation. And when you live with expectation, when you choose to see possibilities instead of problems, your life starts moving towards solutions, breakthroughs, and victories you never thought were possible. There is a powerful connection between your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And once you understand it, you can start to shape your life in ways you never imagined. It all begins in the mind. A thought is like the spark that lights a fire. It starts small, but if you feed it, it grows. Every thought you allow to live in your mind eventually shows up in the words you speak. And those words guide the actions you take. That's why the people who think defeated thoughts end up speaking defeated words, and the people who speak defeated words end up living defeated lives. It's not coincidence, it's the natural chain of life. On the other hand, those who discipline their thoughts to be filled with faith, possibility, and vision begin to speak with power, and those words move them into bold action, which leads them to success. If you look at anyone who has accomplished something extraordinary, it all started with a thought. Somebody thought, I can do this, long before anybody else believed it. That thought grew into a declaration, I will do this. That declaration became actions, decisions, sacrifices, and habits that eventually produced a result. But it doesn't only work in the positive. It works in the negative too. A person who keeps thinking, I'll never be good enough, will start saying it out loud. They'll say things like, I can't do that, or that's not for me. And soon enough, their actions reflect that belief. They don't try, they don't take chances, they don't step out. And just like that, their life becomes the proof of the very thought they started with. Your words are so powerful because they are thoughts spoken out loud. They reinforce what's in your mind. If your thoughts are seeds, then your words are the water that makes them grow. When you keep speaking doubt, when you keep talking about how bad things are, you're watering negative seeds. But when you speak hope, when you declare victory, when you affirm your ability, you are watering seeds of success. And the thing about seeds is that whatever you water will grow. That's why you have to be intentional, not only about what you think, but also about what you say. Because every word is either pushing you toward your destiny or pulling you further away from it. Then comes the final step, action. Action is the harvest of your thoughts and words. You can't just Think about it. You can't just talk about it. You got to move. But here's the truth. Action always follows belief. People don't act boldly unless they first think boldly and speak boldly. A person who has convinced themselves that they are capable is going to walk differently, work differently, and live differently than someone who has convinced themselves that they are a failure. The confidence or the fear you carry in your mind shows up in the way you act every single day. So many people sabotage their own future without realizing it. They think negative thoughts, speak negative words, and then wonder why their life doesn't change. But the truth is, you cannot have a positive life with a negative mouth, and you cannot have a positive mouth with a negative mind. It all flows together. If you want to change your actions, you first have to change your words, and to change your words, you first have to change your thoughts. The connection is unbreakable. Your thoughts set the direction, your words give it strength, and your actions make it real. That's why success starts in the mind, moves through the mouth, and shows up in your movements. If you want a better life, start thinking better thoughts, start speaking better words, and then take better actions. When those three line up, there's nothing you cannot accomplish. Life will never be perfect, and the sooner you understand that, the better. Circumstances will never line up exactly the way you want them to. There will always be setbacks, disappointments, and challenges that come your way. But here's the truth. Your circumstances don't have the final say in your life. Your mindset does. Two people can go through the exact same situation, and one will come out defeated, while the other comes out victorious. The difference isn't the situation. The difference is the mindset. That's why you have to stop waiting for everything around you to change and start changing what's inside you. Because the way you think about your circumstances is far more important than the circumstances themselves. I've seen people born into wealth and opportunity who never did anything with their lives because their mindset was weak, full of excuses and negativity. And I've seen people born into poverty with nothing handed to them rise to greatness because their mindset refused to let their environment define them. Your external situation can only control you if your internal belief allows it. If you decide in your mind that your struggle is permanent, it will be. But if you decide in your mind that your struggle is temporary and that you built to overcome it, then your actions will eventually prove that to be true. Circumstances are like storms. They come and go. But storms don't decide the direction of your life. Your mindset does. You can complain about the rain or you can dance in it. You can cry about the wind or you can use it to push yourselves forward. Mindset is the difference between seeing an obstacle as the end and seeing it as a step toward the next level. Every great success story you've ever heard has one thing in common. The person didn't let their circumstances stop them. They made a decision to keep going when everything around them said quit. That's mindset over circumstances. The truth is, you can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. That's where your power lies. Some people go through a tough time and say, why me? Others go through the same tough time and say, try me. It's all about perspective. Your mindset will either turn a problem into a prison or into a pathway. That's why it's so important to discipline your thinking. Because if you let your mind dwell on how unfair life is, how bad the situation looks, or how hopeless things seem, you'll stay stuck. But if you train your mind to see challenges as lessons, as stepping stones, as preparation for something greater, you'll move forward no matter what the circumstances are. Think about it. Every day you wake up, life is throwing something at you. It might be financial struggles, health issues, family problems, or setbacks in your career. But none of those things have the power to define you unless you give them that power. Your circumstances are not who you are. They are simply where you are right now. And where you are right now is not where you have to stay. A strong mindset makes that truth clear. When your mindset is focused on faith, resilience, and vision, you start creating opportunities even in the middle of obstacles. You find doors when others only see walls. Your circumstances can limit your resources, but they can't limit your imagination. They can delay your progress, but they can't destroy your determination unless you let them. That's why people with the right mindset always find a way. They don't wait for everything to get easier. They get stronger. They don't pray for smaller problems. They build bigger faith. They don't wish for perfect conditions. They create results with whatever conditions they've been given. Because when your mindset is right, no circumstance can hold you down for long. Faith and positive thinking are some of the most powerful tools you will ever have if you want to change your life. Faith is the ability to believe in what you cannot see. And positive thinking is the discipline of focusing your mind on what can go right instead of what can go wrong. Put those two together and you've got a formula that can move mountains. The problem is that most people let fear and doubt control their lives instead. They talk themselves out of opportunities. They convince themselves that their dreams are too big, and they allow negativity to dominate their thoughts. But when you learn to replace doubt with faith and fear with positive thinking, your whole life starts to transform. Because faith tells you that even though you don't have the answer yet, the answer is on the way. Positive thinking tells you that even though things may not look good right now, the story is not finished yet. The truth is, life will always give you reasons to doubt. There will always be setbacks, delays, and disappointments. But faith is the refusal to let those circumstances dictate your future. Faith says, I don't care how it looks right now, I still believe. Faith says, I don't have to see the staircase to take the first step. And positive thinking goes hand in hand with that. Positive thinking doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you choose to see beyond it. It means when the problem shows up, you choose to focus on the possibility. When the door closes, you choose to believe that another one is opening. When you fail, you choose to see it as a lesson instead of the end. The danger of negative thinking is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you keep telling yourself you can't, you won't. If you keep expecting the worst, life will keep giving it to you. That's how powerful your mind is. But the beauty of positive thinking is that it works the same way when you start expecting good things, when you start believing that something better is coming, when you hold on to faith, even in the dark, your actions, your energy, and your decisions begin to align with that belief. People are drawn to you, opportunities start showing up, and doors you never even noticed before begin to open. Sometimes faith and positive thinking are the only things that will carry you through. When you don't have the resources, when you don't have the connections, when you don't even know the next step, all you have is the belief that somehow, some way, you're going to make it. And that belief alone has the power to push you further than fear ever could. I've seen people with less talent, fewer resources, and more obstacles succeed simply because they refuse to give up their faith and they refuse to stop thinking positively. They held on when everybody else let go. And in the end, they reached the very thing they believed in. You have to make a choice every single day. You can choose fear or you can choose faith. You can choose to complain or you can choose to think positively. The choice is always yours. But here's the truth. Fear will drain you while faith will sustain you. Negativity will keep you stuck while positivity will keep you moving. Your thoughts are like a lens, and whatever lens you choose to look through will shape the life you experience. If you look through doubt, you'll see obstacles. If you look through faith, you'll see opportunities. If you look through negativity, you'll see dead ends. If you look through positive thinking, you'll see new beginnings. That's the difference, and that's the power.